Hey guys, Daddy Joe here. We've been talking in the past for an opportunity to get into the markets if they were to dump, and here we are dumping down into key levels of support. Let's show you some great entry positions for some cryptos and get after the money. So you've probably heard by now, if you weren't living on the rock, that the Fed raised interest rates by 0.5% today. Some were expecting just a 0.25 rate hike. Nonetheless, everybody knew the Feds were not done with rate hikes. Whether they do 0.5 now, 0.25 in the future, or 0.25 now, 0.5 in the future, nonetheless, everyone was expecting, or at least most people were expecting, further rate increases, albeit not as strongly as they did today. But that said, the DXY, just going to spend very little time on here, as if you're listening to this video, you've already been listening to other podcasts, most likely, and they've been mentioning this DXY. And we already have bearish divergence kind of forming. Rate hike happened today. Didn't really affect the US dollar index all that much, as Forex traders kind of anticipated what was going on. It did spook the S&P people, the traditional stock world. As you can see, we had a drop on the price, but it just brought us down to our resistance or support level. Here's the downward trend, and we have another tap on this support band. Now that said, if this breaks and we go a little lower, you could be looking at 38.67 on the S&P, or even down to 38.09. Could have a little fake out here, push below this and pop back up, or you could push way down and drop all the way to 33.85. I don't think that's going to happen, because as we were mentioning in our previous shows, we already had strong bullish divergence form on the weekly on this chart. So we are, I think, clawing our way back up and out for some short-term high and bullish momentum before the next big collapse that's coming around the pipe on the S&P 500. So for now, this looks pretty healthy. It was as we expected over the last couple of weeks. We did mention the Bitcoin price. Like I said, we're just going to jump right in here. The Bitcoin price, we were hoping we would have some more movement upwards, but we did mention very clearly in the last show that if you're not in the market yet, you could put a little bit of money in, but the smart money would be to wait a little bit for the Bitcoin price to come down. This area here is what we mentioned is a very common place for the markets to come down to, and it seems like that's happening. So you get this push up and this rounded shape that comes right back into this position. That's 18,369. That would scare a lot of people. If it went that low, it would actually be relatively healthy. And the reason that is, guys, just not to stick too much time onto the Bitcoin price chart, but what happens is markets have memory. So when you're looking at the price here, we had a situation, we had support and resistance way back in November of 2020. Then we came down, it became support in June of 2022, support. It broke down, resistance on December 9th, 2022. And then what happened was we just pretended, or the markets just pretended, this very key level at the 18,167 just wasn't a thing, or 18,306, and it just blasted its way out of that. So what kind of happens is, it's like when a house is being built and you start just going about your business. Well, people sometimes remember, oh my, did we forget to check the foundations? Like, we forgot something here. So the market, often what it does is it goes back and retest these levels if it hadn't before. So just to blast out like this without a retest, the market itself is basically, like I said with the analogy, it's looking to check its foundation, and it's very common if it comes back to that price point. Now, if it did go to this price point and in this area, that would be very healthy. It would scare a lot of people, because it would look like this downward trend would be broken. But in my opinion, that would be a fake out and a push up. That would basically liquidate a whole bunch of traders on the exchanges. That would be a great money-making opportunity for exchanges and centralized whales. And basically, you flush the market, retest the support level, very important level, and bounce out of there. And the RSI seems to be suggesting we might go there. I like looking at the RSI. That's one of my favorite indicators. Going into the RSI, as you can see, this downward trend. There we go, all the way back from way back in January 2021, as you can see here. This is the line. And if this line on the RSI were to push even farther, that would basically correlate to the Bitcoin price dumping a little bit more. That would give some great entry positions across the board on a lot of cryptos. And just to show you how this normally happens, this happened before on a large time scale. Here we have the Bitcoin chart from the last cycle. As you can see, this prior collapse way back in December 2018. The price goes up and it just blasted out of here with no retests of anything, basically. And the market hunted it out, came back down right into these levels, took out all these levels that were not checked for support, checked itself, and that triggered the bull run going forward. So the same kind of thing here. You're going down, down, down. You get this collapse. You get this blast out, not checking any of these levels, and the market's basically hunting for support, and it's going right through all the stop losses on different various markets and pushing its way down, and it could retest here. That would be very normal. Like I said on our past channels, it would be nice if this was just compression and going up, but if a collapse were to occur, not to be surprised if we come down to this level right here. Now, that said, looking at the Bitcoin on the daily, we can see here, this is the 220 moving day average, and we're basically retesting support on the 220 day moving average. If this were to break, that would be a quick flush down, like I said, to the 18,300 or 18,500 zone, somewhere in there. If this holds, great. There is a lot of support in this zone, as you can see, all the way back to November 2020. But like I said, if it breaks, and that could happen. I mean, there's rumors and speculation that Silvergate could be going bankrupt. You might be thinking, well, why wouldn't it keep flushing down if Silvergate was to go bankrupt? Well, those rumors already existed way back when FTX went bankrupt. There was a lot of speculation when FTX went bankrupt. There would be widespread contagion in the market. So a lot of those fears are already built into the market. Nonetheless, it would push and be a healthy flush for the market. So some obvious key levels of entry should Bitcoin come down here. But I got some better news than this. We've been talking about XRP, and something's going on with the XRP market. So I'm going to show you something pretty fascinating here. Bitcoin seems to be collapsing, and we are saying XRP is going to be breaking out pretty soon. Check this out. This is going under the radar, guys. You probably are going to hear this first. Here's this downward channel on the XRP dominance chart, and it is breaking out in a violent manner. Very big news. So basically what's happening is the markets are tanking and XRP is holding. So it has some underlying strength within the market, and the market dump, despite the SEC having a judgment coming out here. This is very positive. There might be something happening behind the scenes to trigger this strength in the market. Imagine if all the prices were going up or staying the same, what would be happening to XRP, but the markets are going down. XRP dominance is shooting up. So relative to the rest of the market, there is money flowing into the XRP ecosystem relative to the rest of the market. So if we were just to change this and look at the price, that's what most people are always obsessed over. It looks like it's nothing happening, right? It looks like nothing is happening here. We're just coming to this magic zone here. We talked about this on the channel. It's either shit or get off the pot time within the next couple of weeks. If you're just obsessed with price, you wouldn't be noticing that on the XRP dominance, some major moves are being made. And here's a massive breakout. So something's happening. We're calling for this breakout in the prior shows. It seems to be happening, even though it's not showing up in the price where everybody else is obsessing over and focused on. And something's going on. Usually this kind of thing will translate into epic gains in the price eventually, depending on what the rest of the market is. And even if the market collapses and this keeps going up, at least you're saving money because your XRP tokens is not going down at the same speed as the rest of the market. So this is a massive descending channel here going down. So some interesting opportunities falling by the wayside because people are focused on price. Going into a couple of other tokens, we were talking about Zilliqa. We mentioned that if Zilliqa goes under the 0.025 price point, that would be a great entry. If you hadn't got here, if it were to collapse, we said the 0.025 or lower would be great. We are in strong support here. Again, if Bitcoin keeps crashing, this is level 1 for purchase. Another zone of purchase is down here at just under 0.018. So like I said, we are in the accumulation zone of the bear market. It's always nice when tokens go up to get a little bit of profits, but the main thing is accumulating these tokens on key levels of support during the accumulation zone before the next bull market. That's where the big money is. So a really key level of support, if it breaks down under here at 0.018, somewhere at that price point, that would be very nice. On to Phantom. So on this channel, we really discourage day trading, but nonetheless, that doesn't mean we completely avoid it. Phantom is one of those coins I do a little bit of day trading on. I do less than 1% of my portfolio on any given coin for a day trade. This guy here is an amazing opportunity long haul, so I don't want to be in and out of this one too much, but I do have a small position. Like I said, only 1% of my positions involved in any kind of day trading aspects, and Phantom is one of those coins. We were buying in at the 0.17 price range back in November, December, like we keep saying on the channel, and this one we sold out, got out of the position here. A really key level of support around the 0.50 and then the 0.062, or sorry, 0.50, 0.62 price point. So we're mostly out of this coin, and we're anticipating in prior shows that we could come back down to 0.32. If you weren't in this token, wait for that time to come up. If it does come up, 0.32 would be great to get into. We are at 0.33 right now. But that said, guys, just keep in mind, here was the downward trend. We clearly broke out of it and we're rolling back around. This is on the 3-day chart, but we are breaking below this prior resistance that should be support, and we also are rolling down on the MACD. So even though 0.32 would be a great entry position, the fact that Bitcoin is showing it could still take a small dump like we just mentioned, if this came down to this support line, and this, again, once again, this is the 3-day chart, you can see this long support band here. If it came back down and hit this and came back to the 0.26 range, I think that would be a better price point than 0.32. So even though it's nice getting that 0.32, made quite a bit of profits on this. Like I said, the bear markets are for accumulating. So to be able to accumulate at 0.26 rather than 0.32, I mean, that's about a 25% differential. In the long haul, how much difference does that make? Not much, but for a small coin, small percentage of our portfolio that we are trading, 25% with this light leverage, I think that's worthwhile to get in again at that price point. So 0.26, great entry position. Mark it on your table of contents, or if you got a whiteboard in front of you, that'd be a great point. And 0.32 as well. We're approaching that, but like I said, the market on FTM looks like it wants to push down even farther, especially with the MACD. We're just having rolled over on the 3 days. So we see some underlying weakness here. So I'm just going to check one thing here, guys. Yeah, there we go. That was the break back in November into December. That was our price entry point, and yeah, I would not be surprised here if this comes right down to the 0.26. But the way whales work is they like to flush all the stops out, so it pushing below that to flush out the stops and coming up, that would make sense to me. So 0.26 in front of us now, we have Cardiac Chain. We've been talking about Cardiac Chain quite a bit on the channel as well. We did mention in the past that if it were to break down, great entry positions. First entry position would be at $0.0063, and then the next lower step would be at 0.0057. We are at 0.00574. My mistake, we said 0.0058. We're at 0.0057 and change. Right in this band of support, like we talked about with the Bitcoin, it comes up, rolls around into the zone here where the capitulation was. This bump here is a healthy place to get into. I figured on the last channel that we could be between the 0.0063 and 0.0058 range and just bounce, chop around in here. Because it's a small token, it only has about 4 million market cap, but like it has spikes up and below and above this range here. That's kind of common. So this level here though is right where we're hoping to get into. Now if this does break down, being such a small token, we could flush some people out. Obviously, we did mention on the channel the other area would be around the 0.0044 range, but for now things seem to be playing out as we're kind of anticipating. So I'm happy with this position here. We already accumulated down here and we are just retesting it right now. So given that I already bought into this coin and we're just at where we bought it, like I said, this is accumulation zone, but I already bought other tokens, so I'm just kind of leaving this alone. Nonetheless, for some of you guys that weren't here back in November and missed this run up, you have your re-entry zone coming right back at the capitulation area from back in November. So I think this is a good price point to be getting into, in my opinion. I always got to mention, or sometimes I mention, I should say, this isn't financial advice, but you know how it goes. We always got to prefix everything we say nowadays for liability purposes. I don't even know why. You're supposed to basically listen to guys like Jamie Dimon and all those kinds of guys telling you what to do and keeping you broke for your whole life. But apparently they're the professionals. You're supposed to listen to them, and they get away with being wrong all the time. Guys like me, we've been making money on crypto for quite a bit of time. Apparently we're not allowed to listen to us. So this is just for entertainment purposes, and we are moving on to our next token. Chainlink itself, same thing. It's just doing its thing. We had this prior trend from the past cycle. You can see it's just doing its thing. If you're a day trader trying to look at the copycat of the past trend, it's still in consolidation zone. Nothing looks scary about this chart to me at all. It's just accumulation, up, down, up, down. Beautiful if you're a trader. You could probably be playing this, buying it in under $6, selling out over $8, and it's been chopping through 20% up and down if you did 5x on leverage trade. If that's your thing, it's a great coin to be trading, quite frankly, even though nobody's talking about Link. This kind of chop up and down for 20%, that's good for traders. That's terrible for beginner traders. It just takes your money, basically. Lastly, we have PokerBridge. PokerBridge I really enjoy. We talked about this many times before. The chart itself is playing out pretty nicely. We can have here all kinds of support, and then we just blast out. And just like we talked about previously with the Bitcoin chart, when you have this blast out like this, the market hunts to find the support and to see if its foundations was truly valid. So just to give you a little horizontal line here to show you where that line is. There you go. Support, or I should be saying resistance, broke down, blasted out, and then it becomes support. So this is a very nice chart as far as I'm concerned for a bear market to do this. Even if this does come down now, like we mentioned before, this back here was the capitulation zone. If this breaks and we come back down to the 0.0054, that would be ideal entry position, I think, long term for this token. But nonetheless, we're down here at support. This is a nice resistance flip, support resistance flip on a token for this price point. So coming up into here, check it for support, and then bouncing here between 0.00882 and 0.18. That would be something I would expect for this token to figure itself out before going to the next leg up. But ideally, if you have patience to get in the token down at the 0.052 and let the market just sort itself up to break up into here, that'd be great. We don't know if it's going to go there. We're not psychics. So one level of support is where it's at right now, which is the 0.083. That's a great entry point. A better entry point is the 0.054 token, being that it's a small cap, only 5 million market cap, for it to punch down below. Regardless of how nice this chart looks, if Bitcoin doesn't cooperate and you break down on this chart, it will go down along with it. Doesn't matter how nice the chart is. Another thing I like to point out here is on the PokerBridge, you have this cluster of volume. I really like this. I've seen this before in the last cycles, and during the bear market especially, you get these periods that are empty like this, and then this massive amount of volume, and then empty again. And I find that's usually what's going on is whales are buying into a token. So you'll have this big swap. They can't just all buy in consistently and keep building up on the price. So what they'll do is they enter their positions for a week or two at a time, and then you won't hear from them, and then they'll enter the position again a few months later for a week or two at a time, and then a week or two at a time, and you have these little blips. And then what happens is they'll dump their tokens when the market goes up and exit on everybody else, and the retail market will get screwed. So great pump and dump opportunity on PokerBridge. You just got to think like the whales in order to be a shark, and that's how they think. Basically, they like this collapse in the market. They would build their positions. That's the whole reason you have booms and busts in the cycle. The whales build their position for the next euphoric push up. This token here, this is just like Cardia Chain, in my opinion, for epic gains going forward. It is my personal belief that this guy here can go right up to the $16 range. I know we're always talking about XRP and hoping the lawsuit, but there's these mini micro caps for them to go up, make your 150, 160 X gains on a token to go from 4 million to 4 billion, or even 400 million. Regardless, these are just huge gains on these small caps. That's where the big money is. And then what you do is you turn them over. You pray that they basically pump before some of your other mid-cap tokens do, so that you can roll the profits into those coins. That's the way to do it. That's the way to make the big gains. But for now, accumulation zone, beautiful coin, sub $5 million market cap. And I hope you enjoyed this show. For a few entry positions, markets are playing great for the long-term strategy, contrarian investor, and we are going to be in the money 2 to 5 years. Don't worry about the chop in between. Have patience. That is a superpower in crypto. Bye-bye.